Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Hello, and welcome to the December 11th edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I want to welcome you to the podcast today. We are going to be talking about a couple different events that happened this week, and also what's been going on astrologically. So it's a little bit different today because I'm using a different camera. I've been using a laptop, and today I'm using my actual Sony camera, and it's a little bit testy, so to speak. I think it only records like 13 minutes at a time, and then I have to start it over again. So cross fingers that it'll work out. And for some reason, I guess they make cameras like that. They shut off after so many minutes of recording video. I don't know why, but anyway, that's kind of where we're at right now. So I'm going to try this. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll work out just fine this week. But let's just get started here and tell you what's been going on. So today is Friday, and that means that it's the beginning of Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah. Sundown on December 10th actually is when it started, but they've got it here on the 11th. And I know everybody's been wishing everyone happy Hanukkah this weekend, or the last day or so. So we've got, currently the moon is in Scorpio, and it's actually right on my natal moon. It's at between 11, let me just look it up here real quick. I don't even have, amazingly enough, my now chart up like I normally do. There it is. So we've got the moon at 11 degrees of Scorpio, and pardon me, starting to channel, nose always bothers me. Anyway, moon in Scorpio, and it's exactly opposite Uranus in Taurus, and so they're both at, moon's at 11 and Uranus is at 7, so they're not exactly opposite. They're within 4 degrees of an exact opposition, which is 180 degrees. So there is a tug of war kind of going on between those two energies, but the commonality with Taurus and Scorpio is Taurus is about value of the person, and Scorpio is value of self to others. So how do other people see your value? I will have to tell you, Scorpio, we've got Venus and Moon in Scorpio, which can be really difficult. I definitely had an emotional moment today, and it was not brought on by anything specific other than a song I heard on the radio. And I'm not even a big boy band lover, but the Backstreet Boys song came on. I don't even remember which one it was. It's coming into my head. Quit playing games with my heart. So that song must have just triggered something, and I know there was someone in my life a year ago who was a friend of my daughter's, and that person left her life, and they no longer connect. And that's a big thing when someone is in your environment and then they're not anymore, and you have this energy that is suddenly gone. So that's kind of the energy of Scorpio. Not kind of, it is definitely the energy of Scorpio, where we can be going along, again, not my words, spirit, fat, dumb, and happy, and then all of a sudden we're just completely changed in what is happening in our lives, and it kind of explodes up in our face. Now, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto is definitely the sign that will do that. It's kind of like a bomb going off in your life. And so people who have Scorpio strong in their chart, or Pluto strong in their chart, my chart is very strong with Pluto because it's right next to my sun, within 3 degrees of my sun in Virgo. So there is always this deep kind of, the word in my head is foreboding, but it's not really a foreboding. It can be, but it's more of this pall, like just this dark energy, like a cloud that keeps coming back And I will tell you, I have a very broody nature at times and in my past, but I've realized over years and years, thankfully, of practicing Buddhism, that I want to go towards happier things because the dark side is not fulfilling. It doesn't really help us get to where we're going, because a lot of times those emotions are old leftover emotions. And we don't want that. We want something that keeps us moving towards happier times. I'm sorry, I'm going to just set my little timer. It's probably going to go off after this may shut off, but we'll edit it all together into one nice, beautiful podcast. So anyway, so having the moon in Scorpio right now is going to be really brooding, and if you have moon in Scorpio or other planets, you will feel this, but each planet has its own energy within that scorpionic realm. So the moon, feeling the emotions, feeling the wistfulness and melancholy of home life and what used to be around the home. And then having Venus in Scorpio, like right now she's at 25 degrees Scorpio. Late degree Scorpio, she's working her way towards changing and shift, which will come next week. Usually Venus is roughly a day in each degree. So I'm using that as a generalization. Just looking up, let's see here. Just getting the right day of the week and week of the month. Venus enters Sagittarius the same day Chiron goes direct, which is next Tuesday, the 15th. And I do want to speak about Chiron when we get a little more past what's going on this week. We will talk about Chiron, which is going to be probably a bigger part of this podcast. But again, I do have two different events that I'm going to talk about. One is the initiation of the coronavirus vaccine in England this week, and the other is the release of the second album within a few months of Taylor Swift, which is part really of a compilation of songs that were done during pandemic and what it basically amounts to a double album, but it was just released last night, so I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Getting back to what's going on this week, we have the energy of Scorpio really bringing us more awareness of our emotions, our feminine nature. And I keep taking my glasses on and off, going back and forth. Sorry, I know it can be a little distracting, but you know, my vision ends at the end of my hand coming this way, so I can see that. I just can't see this close up. Anyway, Venus in late degrees means she is now dealing with the secrets. They're starting to come out and be something to be dealt with, because the end degrees really show us the culmination of an energy. So while the middle segment of degrees in any sign are really where we immerse ourselves in that energy and really understand that energy, the end degrees are more of a mutable energy getting ready for the incoming energy. So it really is kind of like laying bare the understanding of what that sign held. And so having Venus in 25 Scorpio, secrets are coming out. Information can be coming out because remember, Mercury just went into Sagittarius not long ago. It's at 15, so it was about 2 weeks ago. And so Venus now is at the same degrees Mercury was at when we were really understanding more of really some of the hidden things that had gone on during the Mercury retrograde. And then the early degrees of Mercury in Scorpio were really reliving the story of the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and Libra. And now Mercury, having gone out of Scorpio, really has exposed everything, and Venus now is starting to reckon with that scorpionic energy before she also goes into Sagittarius next week. So when Venus hits Sagittarius, there definitely will be a woman in the news, my guess is, and she will be bringing out what she knows. That's already kind of happening here in Florida because we have this lady, which is also in the news, Rebecca Jones. I think Jones or Johnson, I can't remember exactly. I think it's Jones. But anyway, her name is Rebecca with a K, K-A-H. And she was the statistician and numbers lady for Florida's coronavirus statistics with, I think, the Florida Department of Health under Rick DeSantis. She ended up getting fired because they were asking her to change the numbers to be more indicative of what they wanted them to be, and she refused. So they fired her, and then they said she was insubordinate. And then she fortunately had a journalism degree and went off and talked to journalists and said, you know, this is what they tried to do. I am the person who is taking care of the numbers coming in from all the hospitals and all the testing, but they let her go. And so this past week, I believe she posted on social media video of the police coming into her house. I don't know where she lives, but thankfully, you know, I don't think anybody should, because obviously she's being intimidated. But the police came to her house and they pulled out guns, and she had it all on video and posted it on social media, how they basically intimidated her because she had started another website to accurately promote the numbers of coronavirus in Florida, and that ended up making it to social media. So that's pretty big here in Orlando, or not Orlando, Florida. And so that's coming out in the news media. So Mercury coming out of Scorpio into Sagittarius, presenting this. And then of course she's also Scorpionic, which Scorpios can be very driven by, and I know there may be people out there who don't agree with this, but personally, early degrees of Scorpio, which I have a great depth of integrity because they understand justice. Remember, Scorpio is the next sign after Libra. And so Libra is the scales, it's balance and justice. And then the next sign, so if Libra is the first house, the second sign of manifesting that in the material world would be rallying for justice and having that integrity coming into the material world. So there are a lot of subtle nuances in astrology that are like that, that are if you understand each of the houses, you can rotate it like an overlay into any event, and then you will understand it to the next level in a next more subtle degree with that overlay. And that's truly what astrology is. Once you understand the signs and the planets, you can rotate what that wheel or hub is and understand things even more. And every one of the planets going through that hub create another layer of the recipe, another layer of understanding. So it really is layer upon layer upon layer. And if you get some of the basics of the signs and the planets, and you know where they are and then how they interact, you can really see a more fleshed out story and how things will play out in astrology. So I wasn't planning on spending all this time on Scorpio, but it is rather significant just because the moon is there right now. It's the last sign before it's a new moon, and the new moon comes in on the 14th in the sign of Sagittarius. It's going to be, I believe, at 23 degrees, yes, and that happens at 11:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8:17 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so I think it's 4 hours difference to England, but it could be 5. So that would be the afternoon around 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, depending on if it's 4 or 5. Sorry about that. But yeah, I honestly don't know the difference when the times change. I know there's a period where England changes time before America. So it reduces it and then expands it again. So I'm guessing it's 5 hours. So I'm going to just say 4:17 p.m. England. And my apologies to anyone in the other hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere, and anywhere else in the world. You may have to do the time yourself because I don't have that here. Anyway, okay, so let's go back to today and see if there's anything else I want to say. The moon moves into Sagittarius tonight, or tomorrow night, excuse me, Saturday this weekend at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:39 Pacific. And so there's a lot of good aspects coming up on Saturday, and that is a sextile to Pluto, a conjunction to Venus, which even though it's a conjunction, it's double energy of feminine energy, and it can be either vindictive or score settling, which doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. To settle a score can mean that justice was served, or vindictiveness is doing it from malice, from negativity, and really as revenge. So they're not the same thing. Settling a score in a negative, vengeful way, definitely not good. But justice is good. So there is an energy arising from women, femininity, and maturity given the moon. The moon brings in that emotional nurturing that we all have, of really trying to, and I find it actually really good. It's looking at personally, the moon where it is today is on my moon. And then as it combines to the Venus energy, information may come out where we didn't know something was a certain way. And Venus can be sisters, Venus can be females. Hello, my cat Ginger is over here joining me for the time. Hi Ginger, Cupid joined last week. I guess we get Ginger today. But Venus, again, sisters and female friends, and the moon is mom. So they're coming together to bridge a gap and understand each other more. And I'm sorry, my computer just went to sleep. I'm trying to wake it up frantically. There it is. And so as the moon joins with Venus, the story is concentrated in feminine energy. So, yeah, geez, pardon me there. And then right after, of course, well, let's get into Sunday too before we hit next week. Because like last week, I talked about next week because it's a lot. It's really going to be a lot. And there's even more coming in. Like I said, Chiron goes direct on Tuesday, which I didn't realize last week. And so I actually looked up more symbology of Chiron because, man, we're really getting some spirit here with that. Anyway, yeah, Chiron is going direct on Tuesday. And so let's get through Sunday and we'll talk about next week. We also have really dry weather, so that can, and then of course a cat in the window. I'm just getting it from all directions today. I've got, Ginger, get down, off the window, get down. She likes to turn from this direction to that direction by clinging to the screen and then going the other way. Would you please get down? Thank you. Mercury squares Neptune on Sunday, and the moon in Sagittarius trines Chiron in Aries, just about to go direct. So I think that's going to be a significant time. Also, the moon in Sagittarius is in conjunct to Uranus in Taurus. So there are three aspects. Let's just double check our time. Yeah, Mercury, well, let's back up. And I did have coffee before this, my apologies, but a little bit wired and on edge. But it does help because a lot more information comes through because my brain is awake. Moon trine Chiron. So the moon in Sagittarius, like I said, moms, but also mothers wanting a little bit more freedom, moms wanting to do their own thing. And I can testify that that's definitely something in my life right now. I feel a little bit restricted from mother duties, not gonna lie. And then having the moon trine Chiron. So the trine, I've said this repetitively, but for newbies, I'm going to say it again. The trine means that yes, it's a positive aspect by cooperation of elements. So fire signs, Chiron in Aries, moon in Sagittarius, the fire energy. It's about action and activity. But Chiron is the wounded healer. For right now, I'm going to just leave it at that. We'll talk about it in a minute. But it means that we've got this energy of activity where there could be a wounding and an emotional connectivity between moon and Chiron in activity and action. And it could also mean fire. So it's emergencies with Aries, it's fires with Sagittarius, but it's also transportation, education, housing. Definitely housing between the moon and Sagittarius is connected to this. And there's some kind of hurt feelings associated that will push the situation to a better place, but you have to acknowledge that it's going to come possibly through a means that we don't really like or don't necessarily want to go through to get to the good. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, and all I'm thinking about is like having candy that may have a hard shell. You're not into hard candy, but it has the soft, creamy middle in after it. So you got to go through the hard to get to the soft, good stuff. But I don't know, that's kind of a strange analogy. Okay, pardon my nose again, I'm so sorry. Mercury squaring Neptune. Again, Mercury, our thinking, Neptune is emotions. I heard a noise. I just want to double check this. Okay, still good. Probably edit that out. Still good. Mercury is communication and how we think of the situation. Of course, wanting to move on, wanting to keep going, get out of it, or go to the next place. And honestly, Sagittarius, that's how they deal with things. They're just like, I'm done with this. This energy is not where I need to be anymore. I'm ready to move on, because it's fire energy. And I want to also say, when like using the formula of first house issue, second house manifestation, having, oh boy, really having issues today. The first house, oh, here's Cupid. Very distractible, probably. Anyway, Mercury in Sagittarius, if you have Mercury in Sagittarius as the, well, actually I'm going to reverse it. Scorpio in the first house, Sagittarius is the manifester. So Scorpio is manifested in Sagittarius energy. I don't know if you understand that, but just as an example, a Scorpio rising, Sagittarius is on the manifesting house that is ruled naturally by Taurus, the earth energy. So it brings things into the earth plane, into the awareness in a material sense. So Sagittarius can do that. And the connection to Scorpio, if the Scorpio energy is prominent, then Sagittarius is the manifestor of Scorpio energy. And that is true for anywhere in the chart. You have the connection of signs that are analogous or next to each other. So put Capricorn on the first house, you get Aquarian manifestation. Aquarius on the first house, you get Pisces manifestation. So each sign consecutively is the manifestor of the sign before. That's really, in a nutshell, what that means. So having Sagittarius anything, it means that it's really bringing through the energy of what we learned from the sign before and bringing it into manifestation. And that also means whatever sign is the primary energy you're looking at is the Aries energy, is the first house energy. It's active, it's self-actuated, and so it wants to be what it is. It wants to be in its pure form. It wants to come into the world as a new energy, bring in new things. So Scorpio relating to Sagittarius will be bringing new things in. Now, if the issue is completely Sagittarian, that would put Scorpio in the 12th house. And so as Sagittarius first house, that puts Scorpio in the subconscious. So it's kind of a play on what is the main focus of the situation, and you can add that as another way to discern what's going on. It's more of an intuitive tool for astrology, and definitely, if anything, I'm an intuitive astrologer. Information comes through in that intuitive modality. It's more, it drops into my head, and I just speak what I understand about it based on the... All right, we're back. So come Monday, we're going to have a new moon. So the moon is at the bottom. It has completely waned, and it is at the closest point in the sky in the zodiac to the sun. They are at the same degree. That will happen 11:17 a.m. on Monday. And they're in Sagittarius. So that part of the sky is being affected. It is education. It is travel. It is real estate. It is, let me see what all is there. We're going to have Mercury as well. Let's see, did they join up? Mercury, I think Mercury actually joins up. No, maybe not. Moon, Mercury, when is that? Okay, so Mercury and the moon join up at 5:42 a.m. And so we're going to see this energy of Mercury kind of infused into that whole scenario with the sun and the eclipse. And it is a solar eclipse, which means the sun is eclipsed by the moon. So Earth, Moon, Sun. The moon goes between the Earth and the sun at the same point in the sky, and so ergo eclipses the sun. It goes across the front of the sun. And so we're going to have like a lights on, lights off effect. And it's going to be an awareness. And because it's Sagittarius, the sign that wants to be very blunt, wants to just say, this is what it is, accept it, moving on. We're going to feel that. There's going to be a collective awareness. The other little interesting tidbit with this is the South Node at 19 Sagittarius is right there with them. And so we have Mercury, South Node, Sun, Moon, all combined in Sagittarius, bringing out information that we had not known, but also inclining us to grow spiritually, which is also what Sagittarius rules. It's the seeking of spiritual higher understanding and knowledge, and move on from it. Find ways of learning, which is higher education and understanding, growth, and then transiting past it to the next thing. It's always like the next, go, grow. And so it's kind of an aha moment. We have a few of those coming up with how the planets are connecting and talking right now. This is one of them. I'm trying to remember what the other one was, but I think it was a Mercury connection to Uranus, but that was probably the opposition of Mercury to Uranus. Or it could also be the upcoming Mars to Uranus. There are many ways of bringing out aha moments. Whenever you have the planets that are into understanding, which would be Uranus, is a higher understanding in an intellectual sense. It's information coming through like a channeled energy. So it's awareness through channeling higher spiritual realms. Not even spiritual, but just energetic realms. And then you have Sagittarius, which is also wanting to understand and seeking out higher understanding. You can also have Mercury involved in that, because Mercury is an education central planet. But there are definite awakening moments in astrology coming up, but that's one of them. Mercury, Sun, Moon, solar eclipse. It's like, boom, flash of understanding and knowledge, collective. The South Node, North Node axis is fate. It's going to affect the masses. And then we have, let's see if there's anything else. The Moon enters Capricorn on Monday at 10:35 p.m. Venus is sextile to Jupiter in Capricorn. Strong female energy coming through, definitely with the Moon in Scorpio through tomorrow night, which is Saturday night. And then we have the trine going, or sextile of Venus in Scorpio to Jupiter in Capricorn. Really strong manifestation of information or energy associated with women and transition. So Jupiter is a transitionary planet. Pluto and Jupiter, I would say, are probably the big ones, where they will bring energy and events to our world that really, and individually and collectively, make our lives move forward through an event. It is a shift of energy that creates an event. Wow, there's just so much coming through that I want to talk about, but I can't fit it in. I'll just give you a hint of what it is. There's like a quantum energy of how if you picture someone coming up out of the water, and if you could turn, this is my dimensional mind, my quantum mind. If you looked at that water in a vertical sense, and you saw somebody coming through water into the air, their face would emerge out of that water. And if you think of water, you can't necessarily see underneath it when you're looking across the plane. So as it emerges through, you basically have a situation that comes out of what would appear to be nowhere. As it does that, you're in a new realm. That's the kind of energy that I see coming in, that we're moving from this one realm of energy, like maybe using water element and air element as an example. You have this realm of activity emerging out into this realm, and this is a whole other sense of a type of energy. So watery, dreamy, emotional, going into air, clairsentient, clarifying, organizational, not hierarchical, quantum. And it is a collective energy versus that immersion. And that's only an example. I don't know. This may be a really psych out type of a podcast this week. because of the caffeine, but it's also the energy coming in. Definitely feeling more of the quantum energy coming in as we get closer to the end of the year. We are a very scant 5 days away from Jupiter entering Aquarius, or excuse me, Saturn entering Aquarius, followed by Jupiter only a few days after that on the 19th. So we've got the Aquarian energy, which is popping mind, things going quickly in your mind. It's coming in from all directions. It can be a moment of overwhelm, so I'm just giving you a heads up on that. I appreciate you if you've kept with me this long. That's really amazing because so much is coming in. And then we're going to get to Chiron. So Chiron moving direct on Tuesday. That's going to be, okay, these are some of the attributes of Chiron. He is the wounded healer, but he was a really interesting energy in history, our mythology, where he was the child of Zeus, who translates to Uranus in astrology. And I don't remember his mother's name, honestly, but she was a nymph. And nymphs were like, pardon me if I'm wrong, but like forest sprites, or, you know, there's a whole mythology around nymphs. And I would recommend you look up a lot of mythology because there's just so much in astrology that comes into play with the planets. But he came in as a centaur, but he really wasn't truly a centaur. He was half man, half horse. But I mentioned this not long ago about how the energy of centaurs are not necessarily completely just the top half man and lower half horse. The idea of Chiron, he was actually all man with horse off of the back. So he wasn't the front hooves of a horse, he was actual man with a horse. And his mythology comes from being trained by Apollo. And Apollo, he was like a foster father to Chiron, and he actually taught him how more civil things, more of the humanities and arts. So he was into music, he was into archery. He did a lot of the centaurs in mythology were actually hunters, and they were archers, but they were more like an Aries energy, more driven. Whereas the energy of Chiron is more like a Renaissance man. He was into music and archery for hunting, but not for war or anything like that. And so it's more of a refined Renaissance energy of music, and he was into astrology, he was into herbology, he was a teacher, like the Virgo energy is a teacher in the sense of a parent to a child. And he could be a very strict disciplinarian in education, but he was more of a caring, service-oriented energy. So while I talk a lot about the wounding of Chiron, he was so much more than that. And so the reason I bring this up, and I'm getting chills over this, it's significant because the energy of Chiron is going to be significant coming up next week when he goes direct. And he goes direct in the sign of Aries. Currently he's in Aries, and so that will add to the energy of the Aries Mars. And I'm just looking it up real quick here to see what degree he's going to be at when he goes direct. It's 4 degrees, so he's in 4 degrees of Aries, and Mars currently is at 19, but he's in early degrees. And the other energy I found really fascinating with Chiron is he is the father of Achilles, and he actually did also die of a wounding in the heel, and then he was made into a constellation because his wound never healed from his own past. So yeah, he also was very close with his son. There was a bond between him and his son, and that meant that, or means, as far as Chiron going direct, that fathers and sons, there is a strong energy of a shift around fathers and sons. And so look for that. Look for that in your own life, in wherever that connects in your chart. For me, it would probably just be my son and his father, because I'm one of 2 daughters, and my father's father is no longer here. So the only father-son close to me in my actual family life is my son and his father. But there would be a father-son connection on Tuesday that would be significant. It's a shift. And then know that, my guess would be even if there's someone in the news who was a victim of violence, because the Aries connection and Mars in Aries, again, we are going through this time of the BLM, the Black Lives Matter energy coming up. And now that Mars is direct and forward again in Aries, that's going to get stronger again like it was before it went retrograde. And adding to that Chiron, we're going to see the aspect of family and service and learning and the father-son connection likely associated with that storyline, and potentially anything associated with emergencies, fires, male energy. So there's a strong male story coming in also with the Chiron energy on Tuesday. And I just really wanted to connect to that because, you know, I talk about Chiron a lot in my astrology. It is the wounding, and it is where we don't necessarily ever get over the wounding, but it's where we need to work in the wounding. A lot of times we help others get through that situation even though we ourselves are not necessarily healed. And I say not necessarily because while this wounding appears in our charts and in our lives, definitely I believe the universal love and the agape love of Neptune transiting that part of the sky on your Neptune. I mean, I have it right now. Neptune is within 2 degrees of my Chiron. And so I feel that there is a universally loving energy and a focused energy healing some of those issues for me, that there is interaction on a larger scale with the archetype of the planets in our charts. So moving on real quick here because I know I'm running out of time. Saturn enters Aquarius on Wednesday of next week, and then the moon enters Aquarius not long after. So Saturn enters Aquarius 12:04 a.m. Eastern, and then moon enters at 1:27 a.m. Eastern. So it's literally less than an hour and a half afterwards. And then the moon joins Saturn at 1:28, a minute after he gets into that sign. So it's like boom. Then there is a moon to Venus sextile, which is a positive aspect. There is a moon to Chiron sextile, also positive, even though we may assign that hurt. There is something of a nurturing energy around the moon and that detachment of the pain. I think that both Aries can be really self-centered or like self-motivated, and then the moon is detached from that deeper emotional quality. So there can be a certain type of withdrawal of the wounding or the emotion attached to the wounding at that time. And then the moon squares Uranus in Taurus, which I find really interesting because Jupiter and Saturn going into Aquarius will also square Uranus coming up this year, or at least Jupiter will. Uranus in Taurus, it is money, it is the unexpected, and because Uranus goes direct early next year, we're going to be talking more about that. Moon in Aquarius, again, detachment, and how does this situation around money, finances, love, relationships, how does that all enter into a relationship with home, family, and the structure of family life? It's a lot. I mean, next week's going to be big. I'm going to save some of it and talk even more next week about it. Gosh, I know I'm running really long now. What I'm probably going to do is talk to you real quick about the 2 charts that I wanted to talk about. The virus vaccine, which I found really interesting just in an eyeball, that at the moment that the vaccine was first done, which is 6:31 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time in England, Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, it is a 29-degree Scorpio rising in Porphyry. Now remember, I use Porphyry, not Placidus. So the Porphyry chart I found to be most accurate. That degree is 29 Scorpio with Mercury, which would rule the vaccine. It would rule health issues. At 10 degrees Sagittarius, just past a square to the moon at 19 Virgo, which is at the midheaven by 5 degrees. The midheaven's 24 Virgo. The moon was at 19 Virgo, so it's affecting the masses. It got the attention, the fame point. And then the moon was directly opposite Neptune at 18 degrees in Pisces. So we've got the health issue, the health aspect of the moon in Virgo, directly opposite Neptune in Pisces, which rules Corona. So there is like that, no, you're not gonna continue on. We're going to do something about it. At the same time, Mars is in Aries at 18 and an inconjunct to the moon. So there is going to be a friction of action. So the drive to do something and be independent, which again, the masks and not being vaccinated is at odds. In direct, like, inconjunct is not an easy aspect to be to the moon. The moon is the culmination of a storyline, like how it will end. And in an orrery or in the moment chart, so an event chart, that aspect is a friction aspect. It's approaching that inconjunct, and the moon, well, actually the Mars is approaching, but the moon's already past it. So even though there is friction, the moon will go beyond it and it will still culminate. So I hope you're keeping up with all this. It's a lot. I understand that. This week, there's definitely a lot to keep up with in how I express it to you. And so if you've made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you. Taylor Swift, I'm getting a little like this, a little edgy, trying to get through all this. But Mercury in Sagittarius, this is a universal kind of vaccine. I think the Sagittarian energy means it will expand out to other countries. It will be used in other countries. And Pfizer, I think, is the one that did the first vaccine. Venus in Scorpio is in positive aspect, so I see that as good. Venus in the 12th house is the virus house because the Neptune connection. Venus is women and feminine energy, receptivity. So our subconsciouses, the 12th house subconscious, it's desire, the desire to do something deeper and to be part of the connectivity and the commitment is in positive aspect to the moon at the moment of this vaccine. What is at odds is Mercury being in Sagittarius in the first house. So what we say, how we think, wants freedom, doesn't want to have to get on board, but subconsciously it's the right thing to do. So, but the action we're taking may not bear the fruit of what has to be done. And that's coupled with Mars being trine to South Node and the Sun in 16 and 19 of Sagittarius. So if you can keep up with that, good for you. Yeah. Once in a while I have podcasts that I'm like, wow, you are really out there. And this is one of them. So the other one that I found really interesting, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but the release of the second album in a few months of Taylor Swift. I think she released the other one, I want to say in July, late July, July 28th, something like that. But that, yeah, I think it was late July 28th. I think she just made the whole circuit of promotion of her latest album, and then she released another one. And basically she said she just couldn't stop writing, and so she released another album with another, I think, 11 songs, and came out at midnight last night on the 11th. And the interesting thing, at midnight, there was a north node in Gemini at the midheaven within 5 degrees. So the midheaven at midnight was 24 degrees Gemini. And I put it for Nashville because her company is, the distributor, I think, is in Nashville. And so and that's where she kind of started her career. So I just put it to Nashville. And Gemini is at the midheaven and 19-degree north node. And so what I see in that is, and then the moon, excuse me, the sun is exactly the same degree on the south node of 19. And so they are really like moving towards each other, that the ego of this chart is at the bottom. It's like really, how I describe this, getting to the bottom of the chart is like when you go over the top of a roller coaster and you go down and your stomach feels like it's flying out and you feel like there's no grounding and it's just floating and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm heading to the bottom. It feels like that, kind of that whoa feeling in your stomach, and it's coming down at the bottom with the sun. So her ego, and on top of the fact that she released it 2 days before her 31st birthday, is probably going to be a disappointment on some level. That I think she's going to be disappointing. The second one doesn't do as well as the first, but the continuation of the storyline, the songs is there. I listened to it today and I found it to be a little bit more depressing and depressive. So I think that her fans really appreciate her bubbliness and that bright light that she brings to her music. But this album, the second one, is definitely more, like feeling the sad side of the pandemic and the lockdown. I think that the North Node in Gemini, she has something to say, but it's kind of hidden because it's still in the ninth house. Or for you, it would be in the ninth house over here. Here's the Midheaven, and it's over here. And it goes into the public eye just after midnight, but actually by rotation, it pulls away from the public eye. Probably, I'm going to say it's probably not going to be as well received as Folklore, but it is still a significant album and probably will gain notoriety over time as being an encapsulation of the energy and the mood and the feeling of this particular time in the pandemic and in the world history. So anyway, Moon in Scorpio, it is very Moon in Scorpio, believe me. Lots of kind of deep, broody sentiment and lyrics in this album, and even the beats. So, okay, I know that's long. I hope some of this was still on the podcast, and we're recording on my little Sony camera. But thank you very much for joining me, and we will see you next week. Okay, well, I'm not really sure where that got cut off, but thank you very much for joining me this week. If you have any questions, please do email me at so@angeliczodiac.com. And also you can see my art at shelleyoverton.com. You can get a reading from me at angeliczodiac.com. All my social media is there. And definitely check out my blog, my other podcasts. Everything is linked on angeliczodiac.com. So that's it for now. Thank you and take care. Bye.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, shelleyoverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.